So, good morning, Dan.
Good
How are you
morning.
today?
Good morning, Tobias. It's afternoon in your neck of the woods. Huh? It's
Yes, yes. The
in,
sun, the sun is slowly disappearing here.
yeah. Right now, the sun is just coming up right in front of me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
nice.
So you've been going pretty much on the new wing foils from F4 lately.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
yeah, yeah.
so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit, like when was your first ride on the F4 foils?
So it came. My first time was probably 3 years ago for wind foiling. So my home spot is Coyote Point here in San Francisco Bay Area, and that happens to be where Chris and Al also do the R&D for the foils. So I would see them probably maybe 2014, 2015. They're just beginning on the wind foils. They were already doing the kite foils before that. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I would see them. I mean, it was brutal. I was thinking, wow, it looks so hard, because what was difficult for them is that they had to make it and then they had to learn how to use it. So that's so different. I would see them crashing, and then finally, after maybe about a few weeks, after a month, I could see them. They were already foiling really good, pretty good. And then after that, they were already competing, and eventually in the local races here in the Bay Area, they were already beating the Formula guys on the fins. So very, very interesting. And then I was so interested in it for light wind, because it really made sense. Instead of carrying a big sail, I was thinking I'd carry a foil, and my biggest sail would be a 7/8. And then when I tried it, eventually I was thinking, I don't think that I can go back to the regular fin anymore. I was using it for all conditions, from 8 knots to 30 knots. I would just put a small sail and then go. And light wind, I used to have, my biggest sail was an 8.4. And then eventually, as the foils progressed, they became more efficient. I was using smaller sails for light wind. So the last time I was wind foiling in light wind, I was using like a 7.0 and 8 knots. And I was using the free ride foil, this one here. This is the 1400. So yeah, so I think this is one of the most versatile foils they have in the lineup right now. It works for wind foiling and for winging. So it's more of a medium wind for winging. It's a 1400, and also works very well for wind foiling too. Yeah, and I think the guys here in the Bay Area, most of the F4 foilers, this is what they use in the Bay Area.
yeah.
Yeah, especially Chris. Chris loves this. This is his favorite foil, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Jeff Clark is also very, very big fan of this 1400 wing.
Yeah, this is like a Swiss Army knife. It does everything. Yeah. But lately, I've been using the prototypes, the higher aspect ones. So
Right.
so this is the 1400, and then this is the 1450. This is you can see the difference here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's the wingspan's a lot wider, but the cord is a lot it's a lot shorter. So very different. So this one, the high aspect, it's very efficient. So I can actually get going in lighter wind with this one, probably 12 knots. With the 1400, it turns much better since it's a narrower wingspan. But like for me, I'm very light. I'm only like 62 kilos. So in the Bay Area, it's very choppy. The water is very choppy. So I find the high aspect foil much smoother for my weight. But I think if you're a bit heavier, I mean, this is a bit better all around. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this jives better too. The thing is with the high aspect, this one, it'll glide. It'll glide much better when you're jibing. So, I'm not really that good of a jibber, but when I use this, I can glide and you can pump it more. So basically, they also use this for downwind pumping, foil pumping. So yeah, this is right now. I think it's just a prototype, so it's not yet available, but it's pretty good. It's very promising. But if you want really a sure thing, this is the favorite in the Bay Area. Everybody likes this.
Yeah.
Even for wing foiling, yeah. This is what even for jibing on the wind foil with a sail. This is really nice. The stall speed is very slow, so you end up carving out of the jibes more often than not. Yeah. So yeah, I used to use this all the time until
You've been on the light wind 2500 as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, through winter. So we sail here. There's wind all year round in the San Francisco Bay Area, but winter it's more sea breeze. It's very light. It's like 8 knots, 6, 7, 8 knots. Unless there's a storm, then it's very light. So most of the time I'm the only one out and foiling. And then, so this is the humongous, the beast, the 2500. This is for me, light wind, unbeatable. I can foil in like 8 knots on a 5 meter on this, no problem. It's also good for beginners because it just foils. You don't have to pump. You just get a little forward speed. It'll start to lift you right away up and glide. And it's so stable. It's like a 120 cm wide wingspan, and it's not that thick. See, it's kind of thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. I mean, it's not as fast as the regular foils, but it's almost double the size. And it's really nice. I really highly recommend this for the heavy guys and also for beginners. Even the light ones, they can use this. So most of the time, I would go out. I would be the only one on the foil with this one, and everybody is scratching their heads. Yeah. So my favorite light wind. This is so nice.
All right. So I also know that you got your reference on the 1050, the free rate model.
Oh yeah, actually.
Tell us a little bit about your experience of that.
Yeah, this is the 1050 here. So this one is what I'm using right now all the time. Ever since the first time I got it, I just fell in love with it. So coming from a windfoil background, the feel I can tell it feels like the race foils for windfoiling. There's a certain feel for the F4 wings. It's very smooth. It doesn't feel draggy. It just feels so slippery in the water. So this one actually was based on the windfoil race foil, which is this one here. Yeah. This is based on the 90 windfoil. So it's smaller. It has more dihedrals, for the windfoil. Yeah, but this is super fast. It's medium light wind for windfoiling with the sail, but for wing foiling, this is high wind. Usually, you see the guys here using this if they want to jump, they want speed. Yeah. They put on this wing. It's so fast, but it's very tricky. So if you're not used to it, it's kind of different. with the regular wing foils, you can pump, it'll pop right away on top. This, it feels like a wind foil. You have to gain speed, certain speed, and then the takeoff is a bit gradual and goes up. But once you get up, it's super fast. It's almost as fast as the wind foil, the guys on the sails. So, and you're on a wing with this one. So yeah, you can see the difference between this. And so the 1050 is a bit flat. See, this is flat compared to the dihedral of the 90 wind foil. Yeah. So yeah, with this 1050 for the chop here in the Bay Area, this is perfect. Actually, Chris designed this really at Coyote Point. So it feels really at home in choppy water, in difficult conditions. This is more for me. I can ride more comfortably with this because even on the chop, even if you're in the foil, like 6 inches below the chop, you'll feel the surge of the chop, especially with a bigger low aspect wing. You'll feel the surge. So the foil will kind of bounce around, and it's going to be a rough ride. So what I notice with the high aspect ones, they don't really get affected with the chop. So it's very smooth. You can ride it very smooth. So this is my favorite foil right now. I probably in over 12 knots. This is what I use right now, 12 knots. And yesterday it was gusting to 30 knots here at Coyote Point. I was sailing actually with Chris yesterday, and Chris, we were on 4-meter wings, and we were like totally lit. It was just so much power. He was on the 1400. He was doing well because Chris is very strong, and he's a good sailor too. Not only a good designer, but also a good sailor. But I found it easier for me to actually get on this, and it was a lot controllable for me on the high wind. And also this actually goes points higher than the regular than this one in the 1400. This is what Chris was on. Yeah. So yeah, and then actually there's a 1400, and then actually it's a 1700. This one. So this one this is what I learned on actually before I got the 25. So yeah, you can see the difference between these two. I hardly use the 17 because of my weight. I'm pretty light, so I can actually jump from the 2500. I jump to this one, and then now I actually haven't used this in a while because I'm on the 1050 all the time. It's just the 1050 is for me my favorite right now. But both of them are good. Like you mentioned, Jeff Clark and Chris. This is the 1400 is their favorite fin. So it really depends on your style and what you prefer. Yeah, but right now I'm also using another high aspect wing. This is the 1650. So it's almost as wide as the 2500, but it's high aspect. It's a 1650. So this is what I use right now for light wind, since the winds are a bit stronger right now. So you can be blowing 8 knots, but actually gusting to 12 to 14. So this one's pretty good for me. But I still carry the 2500. Yeah, this is really super good for pumping. Like if you hit a lull, you just pump. There's no power on the wing. You just pump on this. It just continues. As long as you can pump, it's going to keep going and going and going and going. Yeah, this is really good. But it's super wide. The aspect ratio, it's super wide. See, 1650, and it's over a meter wide. But there's a smaller one. Actually, this is the 1450. So this is 1650 and the 1450. So this actually, the size looks really close, but on the water, it's really different. This is more, you have more speed on the 1450 compared to the 1650. Yeah. So before the 1050, I would be on this 1450 most of the time. And then until I got the 1050, I'm on the 1050 right now. I hardly use this one. But I think these will be the next generation foils. They're probably going to, Crisp will probably, still do a little more R&D on it and then probably refine them before it goes into production. But I'm not sure if they're going to do a production version of this. But this one's really good. It's very good. I think that's the future, the direction. Having a low aspect like the 1400, a low aspect version, and then a high aspect version. So that's the 1400. And then this is the 1450. So you can see the kind of difference. So this has more dihedral and this is a bit more flat. Yeah, with turned up wings. But they're both really good. I guess maybe Chris might play around with the aspect ratio. He might be going slightly lower aspect ratio than what these are. See, what I noticed with the high aspect wings is that they pump really well, very well, but on the top end speed, you could, there's a little sacrifice when the wingspan's too wide. So they might go with maybe just slightly narrower. So that's probably where the direction is going. But they're very, very good. Both lines are very good. And I'm very, very lucky to be able to try both of them. Especially that there's some of these foils are not in production and they're just in prototype stage. So that's a nice thing. Being a F4 user. So like in the beginning, probably maybe 2016, 2017, I was kind of deciding, figure out which brand to go to. And then, at that time, Slingshot was very popular. So I was thinking maybe look into Slingshot and F4 foils, of course, because, they're local in my area. So I decided to go F4, and I could see the quality, the difference between the other foils. Other foils mostly were on aluminum masts, and I know when you're windsurfing, you like carbon, so I prefer carbon, and what really makes the F4 foils different is really the mast. The mast is just super stiff, and you need that stiffness for control, especially here in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area. The chop is really crazy. It's super crazy. It's confused. So if you're sailing, if you're winging, you're foiling, and the mast like flexes like a noodle. Oh, the foil is very hard to control. It's like you're fighting it. But once you try the stiff mast, wow, it just goes straight. It's like so smooth, so different. Yeah. So then I also figured, imagine the R&D is here in my backyard in Coyote Point. That's my home spot. So what you get the best tech support. For the product tech support, and it's actually the best because it's on site. Chris and Al, would see them every weekend testing, so they can help, and they're very helpful actually. Even what I noticed, even for other brands, they would help the other guys on the water and help them out, sorting out their foils, even though it's not F4. So I was thinking, wow, these guys are different. So that's one of the reasons, I started using F4 is actually for the support and also for the R&D and knowing that the community around the R&D is very strong. Like, for example, Anton Albo was testing the foils back probably in 2015 or 15, I think. He came over here to the Bay Area to actually test the foils. They were choosing, at that time, Neil Pride was choosing which foil to design to use. So Albo came over and he tested the foils. And I think he decided that F4 was the best foils at that time in the market. And I actually watched him race with the local fleet here in San Francisco. Well, the guys at that time were on Formula sails. They were on Formula fins, and they were on like 8 meter, 9 meter, and then I would see Albo. He went out on a 7 meter sail, and the F4 foil, the original F4 foil. So it was interesting. I could see him. He was keeping up with the fleet, and I was thinking, wow, that's the future of Formula windsurfing. The foils will take over. I mean, for somebody who's not even used to the foil and jump on the foil and actually keep up with the fleet on a smaller sail, wow, that's very impressive for me. Very impressive. And then now the guys, Anton Albo and Julian, I think Julian Bontemps, they're still doing R&D for it now, especially for speed. Interesting to know. I watched your video on the podcast of Albo, Chris, and he was mentioning his favorite, one of his favorite speed fins now is the 70 cm wing. And actually I have the precursor to that. This was my favorite wing foil. This is the old 70 F4 on a 87.5 fuselage. Even today, if I were to wind foil, I would get on this one. This is so smooth, so fast. It feels like you're just riding a magic carpet on this one. So if I were to go wind foiling, this is what I would use. This one here. It's so nice. It's so smooth. This is the foil I used to actually go from the San Mateo Bridge to the Bay Bridge here in the Bay Area. So that's, I think, maybe about 30 miles one way, upwind. So I did it with this one. It took me like 2 hours to do it. That was the farthest place I've gone through windsurfing or wind foiling. And then this was made it so easy. It's so smooth. There's no drag. It's fantastic. And I did it. I was on a 3/7 sail when I did that crossing. So yeah, very efficient. So, but most of the time now, I'm winging. I'm just winging. And that 1050, this one is my favorite right now. This is really nice. Yeah, I think.
I heard.
Yeah,
I heard you were a little bit shocked in the first ride. Not shocked, but you were very excited when you felt the speed of this one.
Yeah, because I tried this one for winging, the original wind foil. It's really good, but you need a lot of wind to get it up on the foil. But once it's up on the foil, it's really good. But with this one, even in 12 knots, the 1050, it just goes. I don't even have to pump, barely, unless it's really light, and I pump. But yesterday it was blowing really hard. I would just sheet in the wing, and it would just fly. It's very efficient. Yeah, it's very efficient. Yeah. So yeah, things look good. Yeah, things look good. I think the R&D is ongoing, and I think you're gonna see much better foils in the future. Yeah, and like I said, I'm very lucky to be able to try the prototypes and see what they are and do some tweaks and you know, have a little input and help them in the R&D in a little way. But yeah, I'm very happy. It's you know, this is it. This is it. Especially with the new masks right now that they came out with for the wing foil and for the wind foil, both of them. It's just super stiff. It just makes the difference. And also, I was really impressed. I saw the aluminum masks. Wow, they're stiff. If you want stiff, it's stiff, and it's also a very good price. So I think they come in 75 cm and 85. The only thing is that they're a bit heavier to carry than the carbon. So if that is an issue for you, you want something lighter to carry, you have to go with the carbon. It's just much lighter. But performance-wise, you know, the stiffness, the very good stiffness on the aluminum mast. I think the aluminum masts are even stiffer than some of the carbon masts on the market from the other brands. Because the other brands I noticed, they say it's high modulus carbon mass, but when I torque it, when I sit on the beach and I try to I figure, you know, take a look at it, it's very floppy. I mean, but they're saying it's high modulus, but I don't think it's high modulus. It's very floppy. The aluminum mass is actually is stiffer, but the real high modulus, well, it's stiff. It's like, you know, it doesn't move at all. It's a premium mask, but you know, it's worth the investment because the performance is huge. Not only for racing in wind foil, but also for winging. You know, you want it, you know, stable and easy to respond. It's like a sports car. You know, if there's a lot of play in the steering or in the suspension, you know, it's very confusing. There's delay in your input. When you want to turn, the car won't turn. It'll turn at another time. It's the same thing with wing foiling. The mast is a bit soft and floppy. Oh, there's no control. You cannot control the movement of the whole rig. You know, it's like when if you hit a chop, if the mast is soft, the whole rig will go this way. You try to correct it, but it won't. The input won't is delayed. It won't correct. So it's like you end up going like this. You know, it starts like it's oscillating. It just gets worse and worse and worse. But with a stiff mass, it dampens everything. You can actually control. You know, it just feels much better. Also, a good thing there is the compatibility with the different systems, and you can use mix and match. Especially if you want a taller mast, you know, for choppy like here in the Bay Area, I highly recommend using a tall mast, at least 90 cm and higher, because the chop here is so confused and they're very close together. So it's very hard to do a foiling jibe. You know, the front wing will breach easily out of the water as you cross the peaks of the chop, and you know, you end up crashing. So much easier with a taller mast. And with a taller mast, you need a stiffer. It needs to be a lot stiffer. So carbon is the way to go. But the aluminum is a really good starting point for the aluminum mast for the price and the performance. The only drawback, like I said, is it's a bit heavier than the carbon mast, you know. But you don't feel it in the water. You feel it when you're carrying the board out. So that's, for me, that's the only big difference on that one. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dan, for joining us this
Yeah,
morning and
yeah,
sharing all your insights on this. Super nice to hear, and hope that you
yeah.
get a nice day of some more winging today, Dan.
Yeah, today we're looking forward to it. More wind. It blows here in the San Francisco Bay Area. It just like clockwork. It just keeps blowing and blowing and blowing. It's a good place to do R&D for for whatever water sport you have. So yeah, so Chris and Al are they're very busy. Testing and testing and testing and improving the products. Yeah.
All right. Well, hope you get some nice surfing on there today, and thanks again for joining us, and have a super nice day.
Yeah, you too.